San Jose Emergency. What are you reporting?
Yeah, I'm reporting regarding my coworker. She didn't show up for work for last 2 days, and then my work called me because I live close to her to go check her house, and I came here and I'm knocking at the door.
On the morning of September 13th, 2018, a routine welfare check in a quiet San Jose, California neighborhood quickly became the beginning of a complicated homicide investigation. It started when a woman failed to appear for work, something so unusual that it immediately caught the attention of her coworkers. After multiple phone calls went unanswered, one colleague decided to drive to her home to make sure everything was okay. She expected to find someone who had overslept, fallen sick, or simply missed her calls. Instead, she walked into a scene that investigators would later describe as one of the most disturbing they had ever encountered. What followed was not a simple murder investigation. With very little direct evidence available, detectives were forced to piece together the truth through a series of small but significant clues. Each discovery helped create a timeline of events that would eventually challenge the story of the person investigators believed was responsible. And the most important witness in the case wasn't a person at all. It was a smartwatch.
She didn't answer the phone, and then I just slightly pressed the door opened, and she is sitting on the chair, and her face is all black spots on her face. I got scared and came out. I don't know if she is alive, or we need emergency medical help, please.
Okay, what is the address where you are right now, ma'am?
Karen Navarro was 67 years old and had spent nearly 4.5 decades working as a pharmacy technician at the Regional Medical Center in San Jose. Friends and coworkers described her as reliable, quiet, and incredibly dedicated to her work. She lived a simple and private life, rarely drawing attention to herself, and followed a daily routine that remained consistent for years. Karen had never married and didn't have any children. Most of her life centered around two places, her home and her job. Her daily routine was so consistent that any disruption immediately stood out. So when she failed to report for work and couldn't be reached by phone, concern among her coworkers quickly grew into alarm. Karen simply wasn't the kind of person who disappeared without explanation. One of her coworkers, Amber, decided to stop by the house to check on her. As she arrived, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. The house looked exactly as it always had. There were no broken windows, no signs of forced entry, and nothing to suggest that anything was wrong. Amber knocked on the front door several times, but no one answered. She called Karen's name, hoping to hear a response. Silence. Then she tried the doorknob. The door slowly swung open. It had been closed, but it wasn't locked. That immediately struck her as unusual. Amber cautiously stepped inside. Just a few steps into the house, she spotted Karen sitting motionless in a dining room chair. For a brief moment, she hoped Karen had simply suffered a medical emergency. But as she got closer, she noticed the injuries. Karen wasn't breathing. Her face was badly discolored, and it was immediately clear that something terrible had happened. Panicked, Amber rushed back outside and dialed 911. During the 911 call, Amber struggled to explain what she had just found. She told the dispatcher that Karen had failed to show up for work, that the front door was unlocked, and that she had discovered Karen sitting motionless inside the home. Within minutes, police officers and emergency responders arrived at the scene.
Has she moved at all?
Okay, there, good. Thank you very much.
Is she moving at all?
I just went inside, and I just came out.
Does she look like she's passed away?
Don't go inside.
By the time first responders reached the home, it was already too late. Karen Navarro was pronounced dead at the scene. As officers entered the residence and began examining the surroundings, they quickly realized this was not a case of natural causes. Something much more serious had occurred inside the home.
Does she look pale like she's passed away? Hello, San Jose Police? Hello? San Jose Police? She's probably gonna be 1055. Oh, yeah? Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, she did that herself. Yeah. William 1, subject's 1055. She's got the knife? No.
Karen's body remained in the dining room chair, exactly where Amber had discovered her. Karen's body showed signs of a severe and violent attack. The extensive injuries she had suffered, combined with the large amount of blood covering the dining area, immediately indicated to investigators that this was not a simple incident. The scene pointed to a brutal confrontation that had taken place inside the home. Investigators carefully documented every inch of the house before moving anything. Several details immediately stood out. A large kitchen knife was discovered in Karen's hand. At first glance, the position of the knife could have suggested that Karen had somehow caused the injuries herself. But detectives quickly began questioning that first impression. The injuries were simply too severe to support the idea of self-infliction. Karen had suffered multiple wounds to her head and neck, while blood covered nearby furniture, walls, and various objects throughout the room. Several dining chairs had also been knocked out of place, suggesting that a violent struggle had occurred inside the home. Investigators explained that cameras had confirmed when Anthony arrived at Karen's home and when he left. Anthony acknowledged that he had been there. That detail was never disputed. Then detectives introduced the Fitbit data. They explained that Karen's heart had stopped while Anthony's vehicle was still parked outside the residence. Anthony listened quietly. After a moment, he gave a simple response. "I can't explain it." Detectives continued questioning him. If Karen died while he was still at the property, what happened inside the home? Anthony maintained that he didn't know. He continued insisting that Karen was alive when he left. Investigators pointed out the problem with that explanation. If Karen's heart stopped before Anthony's car left the driveway, then someone inside the house had to be responsible. And according to the evidence, there was no sign that anyone else had entered. Inside a laundry hamper, detectives found multiple pieces of clothing containing reddish-brown stains. At first glance, the marks appeared minor, but investigators knew that even the smallest traces can reveal important details. Preliminary testing suggested the stains could be blood. A pair of men's pants showed staining around the knees. A striped button-down shirt contained multiple small stains across the front. A white undershirt also showed possible blood traces. Each item was carefully collected, packaged, and sent to the crime laboratory for further examination. But the search revealed even more. Investigators used specialized chemical reagents designed to detect traces of blood that may have been cleaned away. Several areas throughout the residence were tested. 2 locations stood out. One sink near the converted garage area showed reactions consistent with cleaned blood. Another sink inside the home produced a similar result. To detectives, the findings suggested that someone may have attempted to remove evidence after Karen's death. Whether the blood belonged to Anthony, Karen, or another person would ultimately depend on DNA analysis. But investigators believed they had uncovered another important piece of the case. The evidence was no longer a collection of separate clues. It was becoming a pattern.
Keeps coming in. Like, take for example, the knife that was put in her hand actually has a stamp on the side of it. It says Flint Stainless Vanadium, made in USA. Just so happens you have the same stamp on a knife in your backyard, in your little work area, your little potting area.
And my knife in the backyard?
Yeah. I don't know.
I got-
Maybe
I
somebody
got a million
borrowed.
knives, and
Maybe
since I was
somebody
a butcher,
borrowed a
I
knife.
mean,
I don't know.
you know, since I was a butcher, I got knives coming out of my ears.
That's not so concerning. What's more concerning is this blood splatter on the shirt. That's way concerning, because spotting like that doesn't occur when you cut yourself. It doesn't occur when you cut yourself. You'll get smears, but you don't have spotting like that.
Well, it depends what kind of cut. Sometimes you cut yourself or you shake your hand, you know, whatever, and blood splash.
Yeah, maybe, but if you shake it, if you've ever cut yourself before, you know that when you shake it, when it comes off, it actually gives like a mark. It's almost like a streak, because it falls weird, because blood's not like water. It doesn't just go.
You'd be surprised. I mean,
it actually kind of stretches out a little bit. Well, these aren't stretch out spots. You can see them. They're like straight drops, which indicates to me, but you know, I'm just a layman, indicates to me that it's from some type of impact. So here's my thought. While you're in process of doing this, you're getting that cast off all over you. And we didn't get it all off. We didn't get it all out. And we threw it in the clothes hamper hoping that it'd go away. Hoping that our mistake went away. Hoping that this thing that happened in an instant could just all go away.
Detectives scheduled another interview with Anthony. This time, the conversation took a completely different direction. The earlier discussions about pizza, flowers, and a simple family visit were over. Now, investigators began confronting him with the evidence they had uncovered. They started with the surveillance footage. However, investigators understood that circumstantial evidence alone might not be enough to secure a conviction. They needed something more direct. They needed physical evidence connecting Anthony to the crime. By the final week of September 2018, the investigation had reached a major turning point. Over the previous 2 weeks, detectives had carefully reconstructed Karen's final hours using surveillance footage, forensic evidence, witness interviews, and digital records. Individually, each piece of evidence raised questions, but when combined, they created a timeline that became increasingly difficult to ignore. Anthony Aiello was the last confirmed person known to have visited Karen Navarro's home. His gray Toyota Corolla arrived shortly after 3:13 p.m. Karen's Fitbit recorded a sudden increase in heart rate around 3:20 p.m., followed by a rapid decline before stopping completely at approximately 3:28 p.m. Anthony's vehicle remained at the property until about 3:33 p.m. The timeline placed him at the scene during the exact period investigators believed Karen was killed. With the evidence they had collected, detectives believed they had established probable cause. They decided it was time to take action. On September 26, 2018, officers from the San Jose Police Department's Covert Response Unit located 91-year-old Anthony Aiello.
Yeah. Someone take over voice on my left.
All right, I got it. Sir, San Jose Police, come over here.
Oh, you betcha. Hi.
All right, come over here.
What's going on?
Let me see your keys. All right, turn around. Turn around. Turn around.
Wait. What is
Hold on.
this?
You're being detained right now, okay?
The arrest itself was calm and without resistance. As officers approached Anthony, he appeared surprised but remained cooperative. He was instructed to turn around, informed that he was under arrest, and searched for any weapons before being transported to the homicide unit. Throughout the encounter, Anthony repeatedly asked the same question. "What is this about?" He continued insisting that he had no idea why detectives were taking him into custody.
So what?
After everybody else,
What happened to
primary, go for temperature. Okay, copy. No weapons or anything on you, sir?
No, I got a radio and my wallet.
Okay.
What's cooking it?
The case officer here is going to explain to you what's going on, okay?
Okay.
We'll have him talk to you here in a second.
This is I don't know.
While Anthony remained in custody for questioning, another team of investigators carried out a search warrant at his residence. Every room was carefully photographed. Every drawer was opened. Every potential piece of evidence was examined and documented. Detectives weren't searching for a confession. They were looking for something much more reliable: physical evidence. The first major discovery came from a laundry hamper. Inside, investigators found several pieces of clothing marked with small reddish-brown stains scattered across the fabric. At first, the stains appeared insignificant. Investigators believed the discoveries supported the timeline they had already begun building. Meanwhile, back at the homicide unit, Anthony sat inside an interview room. This time, the situation had changed. He was no longer being treated simply as a witness. He was now the primary suspect. After detectives read him his Miranda rights, they began with standard identification questions: his name, his date of birth, basic personal information. Anthony answered calmly and remained polite throughout the process. Only after those formal questions were completed did investigators begin presenting the evidence against him. They started with the surveillance footage. Anthony acknowledged that he had visited Karen's home. That part was never disputed.
Karen was wearing a Fitbit when she was murdered. So it tells us the exact time when her heart stopped beating.
Are those things perfect?
The timelines are very accurate.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I've never heard of anyway.
Yeah, I think I got one maybe a couple of years ago.
Oh, did you?
But they're very accurate, and so that's why we're telling you that
I understand.
you were there.
I understand.
In that timeline. So unless someone else was there with you, or right when you left, and even then, right when you left, it already shows her heart stopped beating. So that's what we're trying to tell you. These things are very accurate.
I understand.
So, Tony, you asked what a Fitbit is.
Yeah.
That is a Fitbit.
No, I've never seen one before. Never heard of it.
Well, I'm going to show it to you. Looks like a watch, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's upside down. This is the inside of the watch. Tony, you see these two little lights right here?
Yeah, yeah.
And this little square?
Uh-huh.
Those are sensors.
Hmm.
Pretty high tech. Those sensors are what read movement and heartbeat. These two little sensors and that little square box are the way important part in this investigation. Here's why. So here's a report, it's just a screenshot, but it says from September 1st until September 13th. This is what's called steps, okay? And you see on some days, Karen hit 10,000 steps, and that's great. That's walking a long way. So this right here is September 1st. This is September 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Karen walked around on the 8th. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the page, and we're going to go to September 8th. Saturday, September 8th. I didn't make this up. So these are steps, okay? These indicates right around midnight she's still walking around. But you see that there's nothing here, which indicates that she's probably sleeping. Here she's getting some more steps. She's probably walking around the house. Maybe she got up to use the restroom.
I think
sure.
that's what you do, whatever.
All the way up 8 a.m., 12 p.m., so now we're right about noontime. And then as you keep going on, there's a little bit of walking around, and all of a sudden it drops off. And from here on out, there's nothing. If you look at this real close, this is 12, this is 4. So you would figure 1 o'clock's probably in there somewhere, 2 o'clock's probably in there somewhere, 3 o'clock's probably in there somewhere. But the problem is there's nothing after 3 o'clock. Very little. Very little. In fact, you can see that little thing. It's so small I can barely see it even with my glasses off.
I see it.
So then it gets back to what time you were there. Your car is in the driveway.
The detectives then shifted the conversation toward the Fitbit data. They explained that Karen's heart had stopped while Anthony's vehicle was still parked outside her home. Anthony quietly shook his head. I can't explain it. Instead of arguing with him, detectives asked a direct question. If Karen died while you were still there, then who killed her? Anthony gave the same answer. I don't know. Experienced homicide investigators understand that interviews are rarely about getting an immediate confession. More often, they are about finding inconsistencies, studying reactions, and comparing a person's statements with the evidence. Someone telling the truth usually doesn't need to carefully maintain a story, but someone hiding something often struggles to keep every detail consistent. Throughout the interview, Anthony continued insisting that Karen was alive when he left. He claimed she walked him to the door. He said she gave him 2 roses from her garden. He maintained that she closed the door behind him before he drove away. Detectives listened carefully. Then they returned to the timeline. According to Karen's Fitbit, her heart had already stopped several minutes before Anthony's vehicle left the driveway. Once again, Anthony gave the same response. "I have no idea." Investigators continued questioning him. Could someone else have entered through the back door after he left? Anthony suggested that it was possible, but detectives had already explored that possibility. Investigators explained that the marks did not appear consistent with ordinary drops from a minor injury. Instead, the pattern suggested something different. Tiny droplets scattered across the clothing appeared more consistent with projected blood. The distinction was significant. Blood dripping from a small cut creates one type of pattern. Blood striking clothing during a violent attack creates another. Anthony continued saying he couldn't explain the markings. The questioning then turned to the sinks inside his home. Detectives informed him that chemical testing had revealed possible traces of cleaned blood in multiple locations. Again, Anthony denied any involvement. He suggested the blood could have been his own, explaining that he often washed cuts and injuries in those sinks. Detectives acknowledged that possibility. Then they asked one final direct question.
We already have that, so we don't even need it. So we can compare this to your blood, these blood stains, and we also have blood from Karen. And we can compare these blood stains to Karen. Now, Tony, I want to ask you this. If those are if that's Karen's blood, what should we do?
I have no idea.
You have no idea because you don't have a conscience, or what is it? If this is Karen's blood, if this is Karen's blood, what would you do? What should we do?
Place me guilty.
I don't determine guilt or innocence. I just find the truth. But what should we do?
I have no idea what you would do, what you have to do.
What would you do?
What would I do?
If that's Karen's blood, all these little spots on the shirt, if that's Karen's blood, what would you do?
I have no idea.
I have no idea. I would like to sit back and count the number of times that you have said, I have no idea.
If laboratory testing confirmed that Karen's blood was found inside your home, how would you explain that? For the first time during the interview, Anthony appeared to hesitate. Instead of immediately rejecting the possibility, he simply responded that he didn't believe it would happen. That choice of words caught the detective's attention. In their experience, someone who was completely certain of their innocence would usually respond without hesitation. "That can't be her blood." Anthony's answer carried a different tone. It sounded less like a denial and more like uncertainty. Realizing how his response sounded, Anthony quickly corrected himself and insisted that Karen's blood would not be found inside his house. As the interview continued, investigators brought up another unusual detail: the cookies. Anthony had repeatedly mentioned bringing homemade biscotti to Karen during his visit. Detectives decided to ask him what happened to them. Almost immediately, Anthony began thinking aloud. Had someone taken them? Were they still inside the house? Could they have become evidence? His reaction stood out to investigators. After everything that had happened, the murder, the evidence, and the growing case against him, investigators believed they created a clear pattern pointing toward Anthony. Yet despite the mounting evidence, he never confessed. He never admitted to hurting Karen. His response remained the same throughout the interview. "I didn't do it. I would never do something like that. I have no idea what happened." Detectives were not surprised by his continued denial. In homicide investigations, suspects often maintain their innocence even when confronted with significant evidence. The goal of an interrogation is not always to obtain a confession. The goal is to collect enough evidence to allow prosecutors to present the case and let a jury determine the truth.
So what you have to do?
Hey, Tony. This here's Jeremy.
Yes.
Jeremy's going to take you over to the Santa Clara County Jail. Okay? We have to handcuff everybody, but I understand what's going on here. What we're going to do is we're going to handcuff you in front.
I appreciate that.
As long as you don't get out of control.
Oh, sure.
Okay?
Eventually, investigators explained to Anthony what would happen next. He would be booked into the Santa Clara County Jail on suspicion of murdering Karen Navarro. The detective clarified that probable cause was not the same as proving someone guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. At this stage of the investigation, authorities only needed enough evidence for a reasonable person to believe that Anthony could have been responsible. Based on everything they had uncovered, the timeline, surveillance footage, forensic evidence, and statements, they believed that standard had been met. Anthony quietly accepted the decision. He continued denying that he had killed Karen. He asked to speak with his wife and insisted that investigators had made a serious mistake. After detectives left the interview room, the cameras continued recording. Anthony remained alone. For several moments, he sat silently, without saying a word.
Okay?
Alright, cool. So just, I guess hold your hands out like that.
He gets real easy bruises.
Yeah.
Okay. So just, you're fine where you are.
I put him on top of you.
Alright, I'm gonna try to just not hurt, give you more bruising. It's not perfect, but are you comfortable?
Well, it could be turning it this way.
Let me fix this one. First time we handcuff someone in the front, so.
It's always the first time.
Usually does not work this way. Alright, so. No, that one's fine. Turn your. Okay. I think we got it on both ways.
You have to put this over here.
Okay.
Start all over again.
Say again?
So start all over again.
That's it, man.
Yeah. Alright. So, to get it right.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this will work.
I think so.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
You got it.
Alright, so you're gonna follow my instructions. We're gonna walk out of the building, we're going to my car, and then I'm gonna transport you,
You
okay?
bet you.
Alright, so you're gonna go and walk out to the right.
Come on out here, Tony.
Come with you.
Oh, wonderful.
I'm parked where the deputy chief parks inside the gate.
While being held in custody, Anthony's health began to decline. On September 10th, 2019, Anthony Aiello died at a hospital before the case could ever reach trial. With his death, the criminal proceedings came to an immediate end.